Welcome back to the Culture Crusade, the last episode for 2024.
My goodness.
Oh, what a year. Holy things.
It's been a year.
Exactly. Like, both good and bad. I mean, like, do you reckon this year, like 2024, was better than 2023? What's your take on it, Mike?
In general or in my life?
I just general. Let's go generally.
Generally speaking, yeah, I would say 2024 was better. It's just especially the end in November.
Yeah, it's ended on a high note.
It's because it's the overall, I'll bring Jimmy Carter just passed away, so I'll use one of his words. The malaise that we were in this country and globally, I think, because of the corpse in the White House currently. It's just getting November just gave us a shot in the arm of that hope
for America.
Changes.
Like, yes,
our hope dissipates around the world. So
and that's not like, US, snobbiness. I agree. Like what happens in the US absolutely affects the rest of the world. And that was I hope it will have positive effects, us reaching out. But I tell you what, the UK and Australia have gotten worse. Like, it's, and so I'm trying to, like, on balance, yes, that's really good. But Mike will be back in just a second.
Sorry. My wife needed the Coinbase card, so I threw my wallet outside.
So there's things happening in the world that's, not as good, but in terms of wokeness, that does seem to be on the back foot.
My son Isaac turned 18. Happy birthday! Hey, I threw it out the door, right outside the door. Yeah. My apologies.
So what do you think about like people saying woke is dying? It's been taking some hits.
It's been taking some hits. That's as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
I think those who promote the woke still have more money than God. And I mean, it's crazy, dude. I know there's Christian billionaires out there, and a partner of mine has dealt with them trying to get like right wing, not even right wing, just right wing common sense. I would phrase it that way. Common sense, like based media made, and all they want to do is fund Kirk Cameron type films that's preaching to the choir. And it's like, that's not how you win. You don't win the culture war by preaching to the choir, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's funny because these billionaires on the left will pour billions of dollars into politicians, into media, into education, into everything they know affects the culture. Meanwhile, these Christian billionaires are like, I want to make the next great fireproof. I'm like,
yeah.
And then along comes secular Elon Musk and does more to save the culture than any Christian billionaire I could name, right? And it's like, people, you have to understand culture is downstream for media.
Yeah.
We have to make the media that people want to absorb in order to affect the culture, which then affects the politics.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Lit Dev, what do you think about that?
Fantastic, whatever it was.
Thank you.
That's dangerous. You don't know what Mike was saying.
Now saying Hitler, what a guy.
Had those trains run on time.
The Volkswagen, hello. The Volkswagen.
I was going to say, like, you got to be careful, supporting anything Mike says, because you don't know what it's going to come out with. And I thought, no, I might leave that. And then he comes out and says that. Right? It's like, like that confirms everything.
I'm going to say, Hirohito was a hero to the Jews.
Who is he?
Nothing like a big
Emperor,
glass of
Emperor
Fanta.
Hirohito.
Huh?
from World War II.
Okay, was that him, eh?
So like this is funny because a Jewish lady was like on a train in Japan and just driving down on the train, and she like noticed these little Magen Davids, right? The Star of David. Like every once in a while she'd see one. She's like, what's going on here? And she like started doing some research. She discovered that there were Jews escaping from Hitler, right, through all this, and they ended up in Japan. And Hirohito or Hitler called up Hirohito, or however he messaged Hirohito, and he's like, "There's some Jews coming over there. I'm going to need you to execute them." And Hirohito's like, "Yeah, okay," and he like hid them. And
Hitler sent him a text, "Hey, bro, I need you to do a solid." And Hirohito just gave a thumbs up in return.
And so there were these little secret pockets of Jews in Japan who survived, and they're probably all Japanese inbreds now, right? But they survived the Holocaust because Hirohito wasn't as big a prick as Hitler.
Well, there we go.
I mean, he was a bit of a prick. I'm not going to lie.
Well, Japanese did some stuff.
Yeah.
During World War II.
Oh, very good.
So going back to the whole, is woke defeated? No, I don't think it's defeated, not by a long shot. And just as Mike was saying that there are just as many activists as there were before. The only difference is that they've taken some hits and they've started to realize that it's not as profitable as they thought it could be. They honestly thought that if they just shoveled, slop in people's faces with their message, that people would just eat it up. Because one of the main things is that they thought it was slop to begin with. All these Star Wars geeks, they're just going to, accept whatever crap that you shovel out. Same with, Marvel and everything. And so if we change it to whatever we want it to be, they'll still eat the crap up. I think they've learned that that's not the case. And so that's not to say they're not going to still shovel out the slop. We have a big example that we'll be looking at in this episode, which, the new Spider-Man trailer.
Well, not to be fair, they were correct, a little bit correct. That for a while there, Star Wars fans would buy anything with like Yoda on them, underwear, toothbrush, like toothpaste, whatever, Band-Aids. But they were buying Star Wars, not woke crap.
You know what? It very much, it reminded me, because when I went to go see The Last Jedi, was it The Last Jedi? Was it not the last, whatever the first one was?
Force Awakens.
I loved it, right? But it was the same way I loved
garbage.
That first freaking.
It was a bad movie with enjoyable parts. Is that it?
Right.
Mike?
Well, yeah. Okay, we can divvy up the things. I'm just saying that when I saw the first prequel movie, the Phantom Menace, whatever the hell that movie was, when I was in the theater, I loved it because it had been so long since I saw a new Star Wars product that it was like. And then, any of you guys remember the old Eddie Murphy joke about the cracker?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Eddie Murphy made this joke like in Delirious or whatever, where he's talking about how when you're with a woman and she won't give up the cookie, it makes you hungry for the cookie, right? And then you really, really want, and then like she makes you wait, and she makes you wait, and she makes you wait, and maybe she makes you wait until you marry her, and then she finally gives you the cookie, and you're like, oh man, well, it's not a cookie, it's a cracker. You eat the cracker, and it's, oh, this is the best cracker. This is the best cracker. Oh my God, I've never had a cracker like this. And then after you've had that cracker a few times, you're like, man, that's just a damn saltine. And that's the way the Phantom Menace was, and I think that's the way the new prequel was for a lot of people. And then over time, when you get a little more objective about it, it's like,
I did like the Phantom Menace when it came out because I was 9. And
I mean,
so it's pretty awesome to me.
I still enjoy the prequels. And they're bad movies with good fun parts in it, and that's kind of how I look at it. Force Awakens is a little bit the same. A very talented author said to me about the Force Awakens. He says, "Okay, if this is going to be the worst one in this new trilogy, this new trilogy might be all right." It didn't turn out. It was the best. It did not turn out that way. Last Jedi broke so many people. But yeah, so the activists are just as entrenched as they have ever been. And so you heard about what happened with Pixar recently, how they
admitted that they took away. They're rolling back on the gay and trans stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that's kind of editorializing on the upper end. The stuff still got made, or they were trying to put it in. So all the people that were trying to make this stuff, they're still in Pixar. They're still trying to do that, and they're Pixar employees. A lot of them are so butthurt over this. You know, they call it censorship. This making invisible trans lives, stuff like that.
You probably would have gotten it had Trump lost, I think, because there's like that one Moon Girl episode show where they had this whole woke episode that they canceled because Trump won.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, they're still there. They still tried to make it. It's only that some people who have some pull in the company have realized this stuff is not popular. It never was, okay? And it's only gotten worse. People I tried to ignore it in the first, like, oh, it's just this, it's just that, it's only a little bit, but then it kept going and going and going, and now
because it worked with homosexuality. This is exactly what they did with homosexuality. They just kept putting it into more and more and more media until the people thought half the population was gay, because half the people in Hollywood, or half the roles in Hollywood, were gay. And it's like, well, that must be reflecting reality. It's like, no, it's pushing an agenda for you to accept something that your traditional values would not.
When Mike says, like, people think half the population is like LGBT, people do. This is the stuff that people have been sharing on Twitter.
Thanks to those movies, thanks to Disney movies and everything. Yeah, people think that like 90% of the population of America are black people, and that most of the population are gay. That's legit. That's not even an exaggeration. Maybe a little bit exaggeration, but that is a sentiment now. Like the young people, the youngins were like, "Oh yeah, half America is black." Like, no, it's not though.
Yeah, and they've been doing overrepresentation. And so I always looked as like, I thought this was about equal representation, like you're saying, oh, gay people exist, you have to show gay people in media. It's like, okay, why don't you show them to the same percentage that they are in the population in media versus the real world? But they don't do that. They want to push it much, much, much further. And so it's not really about fair representation. No. Right. And not about equal representation, because if it was equal representation, it would equally reflect what the demographics are. It's not about that. It's about something else.
It's about reparations. It's about media reparations. Except for Asians. Asians are still the most underrepresented people. Maybe that and Native Americans are probably the two most underrepresented minorities in Hollywood.
Well, the fact that this has been about,
although we have our own Hollywoods over in the East, so
and you're making great stuff over this.
Oh, by the way, on the whole topic of this whole censorship thing, where they said, you said the Pixar people were angry that they got censored. Well, the thing is, I thought about that, and I was thinking, like, isn't it worse that this stuff is being forced in there? Like, it's not. I don't think it's censorship. I think it's just letting the artist work the way they want to, because these things are mandates. Like, it's mandated that needs to be so many XYZ people in there. It's mandated that we need to have, XYZ sexuality in there. When the artist will come in there and they'll have like an idea, a vision for art. Like, I want to tell this story. And then, like, I want to tell a story about a young man getting his first job, or a young man finding his long lost brother. And then they'll come into Hollywood they'll get money to make this movie. Like, okay, here's the guy's going to be the long lost brother, and they're going to find each other after all these years. And then it's like, oh, but I have to have a gay guy in there. There has to be a trans person in a wheelchair in there, and it all gets bogged down until the movie and the vision is just nothing because of all these political mandates.
My long lost brother is a black lesbian.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what people get into. Like, it'd be like a white guy main character within the long lost brother. Long lost brother is like a black guy. He's trans now, but it's kind of like, it's like. I'm not sure if it's even that's censorship, because it just seems like they're allowing the artist to go back to normal. And this is a story I want to tell. I don't want to tell politics. I want to tell a story. So I'm not sure if it's censorship or not. That's kind of like what I've been thinking about the last couple of days on that very topic.
Yeah, you raise an interesting point, because I do think there are still a good number of people in Hollywood, Pixar, everything like that are not woke activists. They just want to do their job or make their art, but it's the activists that get their voices heard. Disparu raised a really good point about how a lot of this terrible woke stuff gets made, and it's because of toxic positivity. No one's allowed to criticize the message. No one's allowed to criticize, people's contribution, because that just means you're a bigot if you say, well, this is absolute crap. And therefore, no one raises objections, and slop goes through all the quality control checks, resulting in concord, right?
Exactly. It's kind of how you know if something is woke or not. If like, I don't like this thing, and if the mainstream, if all these weirdos come out of the woodwork to bash you for it, well, then it's probably woke. How dare you? Well, and if they're insults and they're slings and arrows, like you're racist, you're sexist, you're transphobic, if you're an istophobe, then that's probably woke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So will the culture change? I don't know, because I think these companies are still deathly afraid of the activists inside the thing. Like, oh, if you criticize certain things, unless you're got the clout, like the higher ups who said, cut this stuff from Inside Out, she cannot be hinted in any way to be gay. They made that mandate in Inside Out too, right?
Good.
But that's only people who have the clout to do that. Everyone else who's probably part of artist teams, writing teams, animators, everything like that.
Yeah, it's completely invested with the left. Completely.
Exactly. If they object, they're going to be like brought into HR for some type of
this calls back to what I was saying earlier about people with the money who have the right mindset should be funding, because we're not going to be able to change Hollywood. We have to be able to make our own studios and make our own products in order to, and you start with comic books. Comic books have been the seed for how many intellectual properties that have been made into ultimately everything else, right? So that's a great way to start, but you have to have people who are willing to invest in that future rather than trying to force our vision back into Hollywood. It's just not going to happen. It's a complete infestation. It's
exactly the only way you could course correct Hollywood is it needs to be twittered. Everything needs to be purged and gutted, and they're not going to do that.
Oh man, when freaking Elon was talking about joking, I guess, about buying Hasbro, I was like, please
save D&D. It would be so funny. If he makes D&D based again, that'd be so hilarious.
Yeah,
there's so many woke activists there.
No more Transformers. Like My Little Pony. What else do they have? They have a bunch of intellectual properties.
Don't they have Power Rangers as well?
Of the zeitgeist.
He-Man.
Oh, do they?
D&D was a big one because that's kind of where a lot of so a long time ago. I'm not sure if you know about this, but there's a few years back. I think like a 10 years back, there was a channel called Geek and Sundry. And you remember that?
I've heard of them. I didn't watch too much.
That's kind of where they launched this. That's where this huge geek wave came in, and it was led by SJWs. We didn't know that back then. It was like Felicia Day, Will Wheaton, and a bunch of other people. And they kind of like made tabletop gaming was really fun, a lot of fun, which I got into. I have a lot of tabletop games from that era. But also there was this other show that some of you may know in the audience called Critical Role. It started on Geek and Sundry. And then it got so huge, it got its own thing. They departed from Geek and Sundry, which now has become a book club for Felicia Day or whatever, which is the same thing that happened to Feminist Frequency. It became a book club for Nina Sarkeesian, like this failed book club nobody watches. But it became Geek and Sundry, and then the Critical Role broke off from that, became its own huge entity. And the Critical Role was immensely popular and made D&D popular, but they wanted to curtail their gaming and their presentation towards political correctness after like the first few sessions. So their influence really influenced D&D to become what it is today, a sanitized, genderless, edgeless mess.
Yeah. It's actually interesting how much influence they have had on the game. I don't watch Critical Role, and so I'm sharing some commentary of people that do watch it, right, or have watched it and are more familiar with it, and they've shared that like so many of the voice actors that take part in it are insanely woke. Like one of them got hired to take part in some type of gaming thing, and it came out that she had been attacking white men in the past relentlessly and all this stuff. And the thing that like bothers me about the whole Critical Role stuff, right, is the change from classic D&D. I love classic D&D, And when I think like human fighters, elven archers, dwarven warriors, you know, the classic fantasy races. Now it's like some either gender ambiguous tiefling with like drows that aren't allowed to have dark skin and, you know, gay dwarfs. And that's kind of what it's turned into. Like you look at the official art and it's just been completely nuded. I'm so sick of friggin' tieflings, dragon-born, half-breed, weird things. Like, where's the classic fantasy? You know, D&D should be like, if you want to picture D&D, think of Dragonlance. That's
yes,
D&D.
Dragonlance. Yes,
Dragonlance.
And a lot of classic, like well-known D&D art came from that series, came from that era, and it's great. Like it's.
Hang on, what, Mike?
What?
Dragonlance: Legend of Huma. I did the breakdowns for the comic book.
Did you?
And what was it? I'm not sure I would say it's a Shakespeare or anything, but it is really classic fantasy. They had what's his name? The mage. He was voiced by
Raistlin.
Yeah, Raistlin. Yeah, he was voiced by Jack Bauer, which is pretty cool in the movie. But he was like, he became like a god and everything, but he was like also like very weakly from the tower at you got the three mages, which were like the three mage thing was this very childish and immature, but it was kind of fun because you kind of know where it goes. Oh, I wear white robes, I wear black robes, I'm a neutral, so I wear red robes. Like, okay, yeah, all right.
I love it.
But it's fun. It's fun. It's classic fun fantasy.
It really is. It really is. Written by Margaret Wise and Tracy Hickman, and like Dragons of Autumn Twilight, first novel I ever read because it was fantasy. It was just
what's Salvatore?
Fantasy. Richard Mack.
I haven't read Salvatore.
He did what's his name?
I know Drizzt.
Drizzt, my favorite Irishman.
Is it Drizzt or Drizzt?
Drizzt. My favorite Irish warrior of all time. Drizzt. Unfortunately, he ruined Dark Elves because like Drizzt was so beloved, and he's like he went away from like the Dark Elf thing that they're supposed to be evil and everything. Now all the Dark Elves are secretly good, and
everyone wants to play a drow and
the two scimitars.
Can't stand it now, and it's gone ridiculous. And so that's just another example of something that's been destroyed by, you know, I wouldn't say just the woke activists. I'd also say modern Gen Z culture. Is that a fair for me to say? Do you kind of see that where it's like,
I don't think Gen Z has a culture.
Yeah, I get that mixed up. What's the age gap for Gen Z? I don't know.
Is millennials and then Gen Z, then Gen Alpha. But Gen Z, I think, is like their culture is our culture because their culture is like, oh, it's still Star Wars and stuff. It's just modern Star Wars.
But I'm referring to modern culture where it has to be like the modern version of hip and cool and representative and all that nonsense. Where it's like it's a fantasy world. Like part of a fantasy world is that it is a world that is darker with greater challenges than us. And so guess what? Racism is going to exist. Like the classic racism between elves and dwarves are almost a staple of classic fantasy. And it's like an uplifting thing when characters learn to overcome, like Gimli and Legolas had to learn to overcome their racism, right? Like these are classic themes, but that's problematic. No, you can't have that. Gosh, can't have slavery in a dark fantasy setting, guys.
Like, they can't really address. You can't have things that are adult oriented in a story like slavery and all those nasty things. Can't have that. Everything must be sanitized, or else you'll make the audience do emotional labor or something.
I know, right? It'll challenge people. They'll get triggered, and we can't let people be challenged in any way, shape, or form.
Now let's introduce trans characters.
I know, right?
Which was really funny, by the way, when they did that in their own fantasy series called High Guardian Spice. They did that, and trans YouTubers hated it. They despised it. It was so blatantly pandering. It was so pandering. They just despised that character.
Yeah, my gosh. And so, like, it actually brings up something that is interesting that's been online, and it's a small part, but I certainly chuckled at it about things have gone so crazy where they are demanding representation so much. Have you guys seen this?
Oh yes, saw that.
Yes.
Saw this.
I also had I also saw the response art piece.
Yeah.
I
I thought about doing one, honestly.
I couldn't tell if this was a parody or not, if they're making
Fan
fun
art.
of it,
It's fan art.
or it's unironic and they thought this was cool. And I can't. Is it a joke or is it serious? I
It's
don't know.
kind of with woke stuff is like, is it parody or is it serious?
Life,
I can't
life has
tell.
become parody, honestly.
I can't tell. And it's just such nonsense. It's like Warhammer 40k is one of the darkest, most metal settings ever. And they thought representatives like that's not going to happen. And they've got technology where you can be a cyborg or be in a massive mech suit. But no, it needs to have the wheelchair.
Of course, it has a fat black lesbian in a wheelchair, a super wheelchair. That's, by the way, that's kind of wheelchair they want you to have in with D&D characters. Like I want my D&D character to have a wheelchair, but the wheelchair has to be awesome so that the wheelchair does not hold him back, and so he's handicapable. I need him to be like half mech, actually.
I can't. And like again, this isn't a world with these, right? It's like, but we need the wheelchair representation. You could be inside one of these things, but no. Well, it's like we're in crazy world because that I can't tell if it's real or not, but we know it could be because we have legitimately had people claim that you have to have wheelchair representation in fantasy already. Unironically, there are people out there that call for this stuff. And so
you have it in Rainbow Six Siege. I've never played the wheelchair character, but like when I'm waiting to load the game, there's a scene and a little dude rolls up in a wheelchair. I'm like, this is
a wheelchair. Get the wheelchair guy out of here. He's going to get everyone killed. But by the way, I think according to Warhammer lore, if this happened to her, they would stuff her in a sarcophagus and put her in a dreadnought, which is a living giant mech machine that basically they turn you off until it's time for war and they turn you back on again. Like, yeah, one of those. They should put her in those.
Right. And the process to becoming a space marine, from what I look, I know I'm a tourist when it comes to 40k, but I still love the setting. I think it's metal as hell, right? And so what I understand from the process is that most die. And that's why only boys can undergo it because of the physical, stronger genetics that
only men can survive it.
That only men have a chance to survive it. And so you need to start off with someone who's particularly strong to even manage, you have a hope to bear the augmentations and stuff they go through. It's like,
so basically they're all SEALs.
What do you mean?
Like Navy SEALs.
Navy SEALs? Oh, it's more than that. Like Space Marines have 2 hearts. And all this crazy stuff that they undergo to become Space Marines. It's insane.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just listening to a Navy SEAL talk about like how you get to be a SEAL, and it's like just the basic training is so strenuous as to be nearly impossible. Right. Mm-hmm. So like actually more people die in training in the SEALs than they do on the field.
Really?
Yeah, because it's that strenuous. And so basically if you can get through basic training, the attrition rate is almost 0 because it's like only the toughest of the toughest of the toughest guys can make it through that. So this whole G.I. Jane thing was a joke.
Well, when it comes to Space Marines and 40k, it's times 100, man. It's crazy. And so
no fat lesbians are gonna make it.
Well, that's what I think. Like even someone who knows as little about the law as I do, I know enough to look at this and just see it as one of the most ridiculous things where she's wearing like Space Marine like armor, right? And she's can't even walk. It's like, what? She's supposed to have survived the
yeah. I'd have to say even trans men who are women or trans women who are men, physically men who want to be women couldn't be because you can't have any womanliness about you in order
Like,
to get that
to
far.
survive the process.
Yeah,
Most men will die. It
Right.
seems like it's nuts. But they have to force their representation in, even if it is completely bonkers for the world setting. And that shows that they don't have respect for the world setting, and it's all about their own narcissistic validation. And it's to the point where people actively want to have disabilities or be of minority groups when they're not, because they know it gives them social clout and attention. And you see people trying to make some really weird kinks accepted and celebrated and stuff, and it's like, no. Just stop it. So the state of so many fandoms, properties, pop culture is actually still pretty bad. It's only that because the woke movement and activists have received some massive fails recently, and there's been a big win in the White House, that they've slightly realized that they might want to make money. But even though they want to make money, they're not going to stop trying to inject their stuff in it.
no,
Like,
they're just gonna take their foot off the gas a little bit.
Right? I think that's the case. I think they're going to try and inject it in more subtle, less noticeable ways. But they're still going to be pushing for it. 100%. Like, that's what I'm kind of expecting out of 2025. I expect that they're just going to regroup, but not change their attitudes one bit. But they just know that they have to, try a bit more quietly. But then you have things like the Spider-Man trailer, where this is not subtle. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen this. Yeah,
I have not watched it yet.
Really?
No.
this is-
you're gonna love it.
So here we have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Now, having said that, even though I said they're going to try and be more subtle, this has obviously been in the works for at least a year, if not more.
Oh, way more. Yeah.
How many years do you reckon this is? This is probably
At
what?
least by the time it drops, it's got to be at least 2 years.
At least 2 years, maybe 3. And so this was, the concept of this was developed right when woke was going on. And so we're going to still get multiple of these things in the pipeline coming out. But even though there might be some new projects where they, change things or make it more palatable for a broader audience, they're actually not changed. They're still going to try and push it wherever they can. So before we jump to the trailer, let's grab some of the super chats that we've got today. Anime fan,
I'm gonna go check my roast.
yes, Mike is roasting something. Anime fan 3794 says, something I learned last week. There's an older Thor comic where after a battle, a Catholic priest comes up to him and asks, "What am I supposed to tell my congregation?" for $10, and that's part 1. And part 2, Anime fan 3794, for part 2, for $20, says, "When they know you exist and we have to accept our God on faith alone. It shakes Thor so much, he goes looking for answers he can't find to try and give the priest comfort. Modern Disney could never, sadly." No, I don't think modern Disney could ever. Well, modern Disney would just try and say, "Hey, your faith isn't even real," or anything like that. Because the concept of Thor, right, is that he is not actually a god. He has godlike powers, and that primitive cultures would perceive him as a god. But Thor is not like a creator of, the universe or anything like that. He is, depending on what canon, you would know more about this, Mike, I assume, that Thor, he's not like a creator of universes like God. Like, aren't the Asgardians more just highly evolved aliens, essentially? Is that depending on... Because that's how they showed them in the MCU.
Right. I'm not entirely sure what the original lore for the Asgardians was. I mean, Odin is the All Father, but I don't know if he... I don't think even he would claim to be the creator.
I mean, God exists in the Marvel universe.
Demigods, yeah.
Yeah, but God and like the devil exist in the Marvel universe, to my
They got
understanding.
Mephisto.
Right.
Yeah. And same with DC, because like what the very foundation of
The Spectre.
well, there's the Spectre. Like he's the bringer of God's justice or something like that. What's his tagline? So he's like, an actual avatar of God in DC universe, and in Marvel you have Ghost Rider, whose power is like connected with sin and the devil and things like that. And,
You've got Son of Satan.
right. So yeah, Marvel. I wouldn't put it past them to subvert things though, because it's Marvel.
I mean, I think today, if they had a character that was like religious, like Nightcrawler or something like that, they would be portrayed as an idiot or foolish, and then maybe his character arc would probably involve him learning not to be Catholic or Christian anymore. Like, oh, I gave that up. I learned, I moved past it, because they'll have he'll be like a religious, and then all the other Catholics and Christians will be all these horrible bigots and stuff. And then they're like, look, see, this is what you support. It's like, oh, you're right. I better not support that. I better leave this religion. And that'll be his character arc.
Or they'll do the whole modern hippie Christianity crap where it's like all religions are valid and all religions
coexist.
That's a coexist.
Yeah, right. But I'm still a Christian, even like right.
All being religious is being vaguely nice to people and not really having any principles or values.
Or standing up for core doctrines. Yeah. Buddy Rabbit for $2 says redheads, Mike, redheads.
Under
represented.
Yeah.
Redheads everywhere.
No, like ginger side is legit. Like you look at all the ginger redhead characters, be like, why do they target the redheads? I don't understand, but they do. There's people have put like pictures of just constant redheaded characters. And guess what? Isn't Norman Osborn a ginger?
Yep.
Yeah, he has red hair, yeah.
And they've done it again!
Bada boom!
Like, why? I don't get it.
It's like in Kung Pao, like red clothes, your clothes are black. And he's like red clothes and black clothes. Those are the two things that he gets.
Just to backstep real quick, I just looked it up. In the Marvel universe, the God who would be described as the God we know and love would be described as the one above all.
Yeah,
which is appropriate.
Yeah, and like you can have a fictional setting where you have God, the God, right? And then even demigods or people with incredible power that exist in the universe and stuff.
Sure.
That it works fine.
It's kind of strange to have like the great god Mephisto. You have great god Mephisto. You have all these like Ghost Rider people punishing things. You have the Punisher with his dark, tragic side. You have all of these interesting things like the Asgardians, and then you have an X-Men that poops ice cream. Like it's kind of an interesting give and take in the universe.
Wait, the poopery? What?
The poops ice cream from another. What was it? It was she. They changed it to where she poops ice cream, not because she has a change in her guts or whatever, because her butt connects to another dimension that's full of ice cream. That's the change they made.
I don't want to know this exists. Is this real? Are you talking?
This is real, yeah. It used to be where she's a mutant. She's like an X-Men, and she used to be able to poop ice cream because of how her digestive system is mutated. But then they changed it so that her butt connects to a different dimension, and full of ice cream. And then DC decided to make a Harley Quinn fart comic, and that's where we are in comics right now.
Yeah, I'll
say we nuke it from space. It's the only way to be sure.
Hollywood comic book industry, they haven't changed. They're still the same as ever. But yeah, so Norman Osborn, live action adaptation, and that's how he is in the upcoming animation.
Oh, Nick Fury, he changed his hair, I see.
They kept the comic book style Norman Osborn hair right there.
Except that hair was based on a style from like the 50s where they put these waves in people's hair. It wasn't supposed to be like cornrows or something.
Yeah.
It is now.
It is now.
Sideways cornrows.
Like every hairdo is black culture now. Dreadlocks, wavy hair, everything Is
Yes,
on
the Dutch braid is black culture now.
on a long enough timeline, every hairstyle becomes black culture.
Oh my gosh. Anime Fan 3794 for $5 says, let Dev know somebody who plans to unironically send Elon a video application for creative director at Wizards of the Coast if he buys Hasbro. From the loading crew.
Yes.
Hey, like, if he does, yeah, I
He's
gosh,
very
you can't rely on Elon for everything though, and so
No, but it would be pocket change compared to what he paid for Twitter.
would it?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's. I mean, if he wants to move in and just buy out, 51% of the shares, it'll probably only be like $3 billion.
Oh, because Hasbro does have some great IPs.
Yeah.
It was
No,
really a big victory in the culture war if D&D became based again.
Oh, dude. D&D is actually quite important for fantasy. Look, not now. You can ignore D&D, but it has been so influential, and it could still be such a great kind of foundation to keep the popularity of fantasy alive.
Could you imagine not only
because of stuff like Stranger Things, it's really resurged.
Oh yeah, definitely because of Stranger Things. But could you imagine that not only do they bring back races, they bring back the racial detriments, like you're an orc, well you get -2 to this thing.
Yeah.
That will really make them angry.
I wish I tagged it. There was something on Twitter I saw today, and I'm annoyed I didn't bookmark it. It was like showing all the things that Wizards of the Coast have done to not be racist, which is so inherently racist, right? Or it's like and then they've purged, can't have drows, dark skin, and they've done all these. Oh my gosh! So. Patrick Elves for $20 says Drizzt was good when he was the exception to the rule. Now he is the rule.
Now he is the rule, yeah.
Drizzt works.
That's why Wolverine was great when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he was the only character like Wolverine, and then he got so popular they started just making a whole bunch of.
It's kind of what happened to Deadpool.
Wolverine lights.
Like Deadpool used to be unique, and then everyone had to become Deadpool. They're all smart aleck, and they do all the cool stuff and are just weird and have to break the fourth wall at all times.
Yeah, it's kind of that classic rule, even in business. Nobody wants to be first, but everybody wants to be second. Right? Because you could try a million different things and none of them will land, but one thing lands and suddenly copycats galore.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Patrick Elves, for $20. And he's 100% right. Buddy Rabbit, $5 says, give me that link. I'll drop some fat lore on you nerds. He's talking about 40K. I'm not sure we could handle. Lore. I'm not sure we could handle the lore. The lore in 40K. I know it goes deep, man. And every time I hear about 40K, like classic stuff, right? It's friggin' metal. It's awesome. Like the way that they have the orcs are just hilarious. I love it. And look. I've also, watched the videos.
40K or is just classic Warhammer?
No, orcs are in 40K, and really? And the way that they adapt them is just friggin' brilliant. They're actually like they have a psychic ability where if they believe something, it warps reality to make it true. And it plays, and that's how they actually are able to have spaceships and guns. Where an orc thinks like, make a box filled with bolts, hit with hammer, make a gun. Gun works, and because they believe that's how it does, their guns work. They believe that things colored red go faster, and so for them, when things are colored red, it literally goes faster. It's freaking hilarious. But it works against them because they fought one of the human leaders so much, and he's beaten them so much that the orcs think he's immortal. But because the orcs believe it, they have made him immortal, literally. And I freaking love it. And the way that they reproduce is like their blood are like fungus spores, and so
a bunch of people.
And so they literally reproduce through war and getting blown apart, and then their blood gets infested and they grow out of the ground. And so I freaking love it. Like, this stuff is just metal and awesome. And so, yeah. So the orcs in 40K believe the Emperor is a god. So he is. It's like,
Also, they have a weird leadership rule where like the one who's the biggest orc is the leader. But if that orc is doing awesome things and they believe that he's a leader, he gets bigger because they believe the biggest guy becomes the leader. So it's like the most honest version of democracy.
That's really funny.
No, so the orcs are hilarious. They just live for war and destruction because that's how they reproduce. And they're just like, wow! And they're hilarious. And so that's just one aspect of 40K, right? Which is just friggin' brilliant.
But there is there's some lore, by the way, where I think it's one of the demon princes. I think it's like Slanesh or something like that, where there's a planet full of orcs. The orcs took over, and the demon prince sends like new ideas for soldiers and monsters to that planet to test them. Because the orcs are just, well, you kill them and they just come right back because they're spores.
And that's only one aspect. The Warhammer 40K lore goes crazy. It's everything's like the whole stuff with Slanesh is really, it gets dark, and then you got the whole thing with the warp and demons. Basically, it's like everything in the Warhammer 40K universe is trying to kill you. And
it's
because
really
of that, because of that, like humans need to just go to some crazy lengths to even survive. That's why the Space Marines have to be so insanely tough. And when done right, the 40K universe is so cool and epic. Have you guys watched the Netflix miniseries Secret Level?
Not yet.
So it's a series of short episodes about different video games, and there's a 40K episode, and it's just awesome. It is so cool, and it depicts the world correctly. Then you have the Astartes YouTube video that the independent guy made. So when depicted right, it's great. And it's so funny to see some of the challenges that's happening in 40K because the company that owns it, Games Workshop, is really woke. And they've been wanting to try and inject woke stuff in 40K, but it's incompatible with the setting because the 40K,
there's no way anything woke could be in 40K.
It just can't. Like there are quotes in like the kind of doctrine of the human leaders and stuff in 40K about like, you know, tolerance is the path to destruction, because as soon as you tolerate any of these other aliens, they'll just kill you and wipe you out and all this stuff in there. It is so anti-woke in its like fundamental world building that is like impossible. And then
this way depicting the God Emperor as Trump is so fitting.
I have two of those.
This is a thing, Buddy Rabbit. It's like, this is only scratching the surface. I know. I know how deep and full on it goes. It's so fun. But still, thank you for the super chat. We can't get too distracted with it. But like, this is why I'm very interested in the Henry Cavill 40K TV show that's being produced. If they do it right, it's gonna friggin' be amazing. But it could go off the rails in so many ways. I'm nervous. I don't know. I was like, Liam Dell for $2 says they could just cancel them like New Warriors. Which one is that reference to? Cancel which one again? Oh, you mean the comic books that Lit Dev was talking about? Because New Warriors was a dumpster fire and it never saw the light of day, even though there was an episode, mate.
The new Warriors, that was too woke for the wokies. I think they canceled it because I think some of the
Snowflake and Safe Space.
And then was it B positive or something? B negative? One of those guys, vampire
Trailblazer, the fat Indian girl who has a backpack with infinite storage capacity.
I think the wokies saw that and thought that they were making fun of them. That's how woke it was.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can't tell these days. Like that, you know, lady in the wheelchair image. It just like,
is it parody or is it?
Can't tell.
Is it real?
This was posted on Reddit, and there's like a post on Twitter saying this was too woke for Reddit because even Reddit was roasting. Just like, no. But yeah, they can try and push it a little, not a lot too far. So Anime Fan 37.94 for $4.99. Sorry. Why do they target the redheads? I say it's selective dyslexia. They want to say a certain word using the same letter as Thank you, anime fan. But it's not because they don't want to target that. They want more representation, and so there must be a different thing why they hate gingers and want to replace all the gingers. And as an honorary ginger, I got ginger in my beard, right?
It's because everyone hates gingers. Like there's like they're cursed. They're the
I was
cursed
actually
people.
reading somebody on Twitter today that's a ginger that said that heroin doesn't affect them. So like morphine doesn't affect them. So they were in the hospital and they had to take a different. Yeah, Adam Krigler was responding. She's like, "What? I've never heard of this." But that they had to take a different medicine because morphine doesn't affect. I don't think it.
I would need to see.
I've never heard of it before.
On that, yeah, like confirmation needed on that one.
I'm gonna go.
Anime fan 3794 for 199 says Ice Cream Mutant's name is Soft Serve. Gosh.
That's it. That's her name. Yeah.
Why?
Is it seriously?
Why?
Yep.
Why would they, like? I don't understand.
I think some of these guys are just bored and horny.
They're kinks, right? Liam Dell for $5 says D&D is so important. Final Fantasy 1 is a literal D&D fan fiction.
Yep, that's what it was based off of.
So much. But I would actually say Lord of the Rings is the true one. D&D was just another popularized adaptation of Lord of the Rings, which is still good and still the father of many fantasy things. But if anything comes from D&D, that means it comes from Lord of the Rings before that.
Well, one thing I did read was that Gygax didn't really like Lord of the Rings. He tried to look into it.
Really?
But what he really enjoyed was Conan. And that's kind of what he based the D&D structure off of, was Conan the Barbarian.
Back to the redhead thing. This is from Grok. Response to opioids. There's conflicting evidence on how redheads respond to opioids, which are a class of drugs heroin falls into. Some studies suggest redheads might need less of a certain opioid for pain relief, whereas others indicate they might require more anesthesia or have a different response to pain medication. That's weird.
The gingers are human.
They might be, part Nephilim.
So, injecting some Conan the Barbarian into classic fantasy might explain this classic image right here. This is the image.
Oh, that girl fighting the dragon.
It's like
they tried it.
This is a metal image, right? And so this is the image that was on the cover of the first edition Player's Handbook for D&D. And it might not be the very, very first edition because there are some really old, but I guess the first largest scale commercial version of it, it's still considered the first edition. And this image rocks. It captures so much awesomeness about fantasy, fighting dragons,
treasure.
Yep. And look at that. It's a human fighter, most likely. You could maybe say barbarian, but
barbarian, but probably a fighter because of the sword and shield.
Yeah, you see. And like
barbarian.
I get annoyed how people try and try
to make that character a girl.
Baldur's Gate 3 tried to do this thing where they looked up how the types of races and the most common race and character class people picked, and they were upset that the most common character class and race was human barbarian. It's like, why would you be upset with that? They thought it was uncreative. Get stuffed.
I think it was also like straight human paladin.
Yeah, straight human. It's because there's a reason why people like this stuff. And so what I love is like classic D&D. That's what it's built on, man. And so I can kind of see that aspect of the Conan the Barbarian kind of stuff. And this is one of the things about making great culture. It's you find something that you love, and then you put your own spin on it by maybe mixing in some other things you love, and you remix it, and it ends up feeling fresh or different, even new, even though it's not really new. It's just a rematch of a lot of other things. Like we were talking
Star
about
Wars.
Well, we were talking about 40K. Yes, Star Wars, great example. But we're talking about 40K, right? So much of 40K lore and like under themes and stuff is borrowed from other fantasies. Massively so.
Nothing new under the sun.
What was it? I did what was it with the D&D with the D&D little art piece? Did we go over with did we ever go over the fact that they try to make that particular art piece about a woman?
You mentioned it as a joke, but is that real? They were trying.
That's real. Yeah, they tried to make that art piece. They said, "Oh, that's a girl. That's a girl. That's a girl fighting the dragon." And then so the actual artist of that piece had to come out and say, no, that's a man. But also, I can kind of see the point where the people who are from Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios, I can see where they're coming from a little bit. Like, imagine, I think they followed that up, I think, with, we put so much work on the character creator. You can do all kinds of crazy things. You just make human male.
Like, yes, I just find it like funny that they were annoyed with this. Like, get stuff that these people are having fun with your game, and it's what, like, the classic human fighter is the backbone of classic fantasy, you know. And also maybe because most of the players are going to be humans, of course, but also males, and so people like to make character classes where this is where they literally make themselves as the, you know. And I have a feeling there's a much smaller group of disabled trans players as there are straight white male players. Just throwing it out there. And so you'd be surprised that a lot of guys are making characters that reflect themselves. Just look at, like, the fact that people would try and say this is a woman.
That's a woman.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that would fly today, I guess, because all these women are just beefed up chads now.
Right. It could only fly in the modern day, where they have been pushing so hard to try and make women to look like men that you could look at that and think that's a woman. Because it's obviously a man, but they want to blur those lines. We know. Oh man, Wolf Spain, I just saw your super chat. Really? The subreddit actually banned him for saying that. And I think this is in relation to him saying that, nah, it's a dude.
They banned Larry Elmore.
Reddit, man.
Wow.
Did you ever see DS9? The Star Trek, the Deep Space Nine? There is remember that moment? It's like later in the series where I forget what his name was, but that Cardassian who like turns against Cardassia and joins the Major. Like, he was the one that who's
talking about Garrick.
No, it's his daughter looks like the Major. That's why they used her at one point.
Okay, hang on.
I forgot what his name was.
Gold Dukat? Are you talking about Gold Dukat?
It's not Gold Dukat. It was like some other guy. I think it's like, I forgot what his name was. Okay. But he had a daughter that looked like not Jedzi, but looked like Major Kira. And then they kidnapped Major Kira.
Turned her into a Cardassian.
I
remember the episode
for the Obsidian Order. Now there's a later episode where that guy comes back because they kept a connection to each other, and he's dying. And so, and then Dukat and Wayun as an alliance come in to collect his body. And that guy and that character was against the alliance between Dominion and Cardassia all the way into the end. And they come pick up his body, and they have no choice but to give it to him because that's his people. And then Dukat and Wayun do this creepy thing where they go, I'm so glad at the very last moments he decided to embrace this alliance between the Cardassians and the Dominion. And he's like, no, he didn't. He didn't do any of that. Yes, he did. And they started writing the whole speech he gave supposedly at his deathbed right there. I was like, that just stuck with me. Like, that's so creepy. And I just see that happening over and over again. Like, remember like when Stan Lee died and they kept using Stan Lee's account to like say stuff in his name? It's like that kind of nonsense. Yeah. It's so scummy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man. Anime fan 3794 says 40K's lore for the Chaos Gods has sadly weakened as time goes on. They used to have good specters to them, Likey Korn being god of honor and Slanesh being god of arts. Now they're just 2D Terabad. Yeah, I don't know enough, but it wouldn't surprise me to know that Games Workshop is trying to water down aspects of the lore and stuff. Like I said, it's actually a really woke company. And they have kind of resented a lot of the 40K fan base and also the 40K lore for the fact that it's incompatible with many of their beliefs. Buddy Rabbit.
And why do they work there?
All right. Tekeni Gemor.
Tekeni Gemor. That was the character's name.
Yeah, Buddy Rabbit with the lore. Though Buddy, I reckon you Googled that one. Be honest. That one you looked up.
I haven't watched DS9 since it came out.
It's good.
Oh,
I know, I'm just saying. I watched it. When
DS9 is great. My wife's actually rewatching it with one of my sons, and
Cisco's my favorite captain. Like, he's awesome. He's the guy that pushed out Q.
I'll take you at your word there, Buddy Rabbit. You are a lore master. This is true.
Let me put it this way. So, Captain Picard spent years being plagued by Q, and I gave him some good back and forth, but Q kept coming back to plague his crew. Cisco punched out Q once, never came back. Never came back. Cisco proved that sometimes violence is the answer.
He was
It
a
just
great
depends on the
captain.
question, right?
And people try to
The
say
question,
geeks.
and the answer is yes.
I mean, I just get so annoyed when people say geeks are racist. They can't handle black people in their media. It's like, Cisco's one of the best captains. What are you freaking talking about? People have loved Blade from the beginning. The world was so less racist in the 90s. My gosh. Now they want everyone to be race conscious. See it everywhere. It's my goodness. All right. So we caught up with the super chats. Now let's get to the main event. You know what this is. I haven't seen it yet.
You know who Q was, though, right? Who's the Beyonder?
Hang on. What are you mentioning? Because you're referencing stuff from the OG series?
From Marvel Secret Wars. Remember Marvel Secret, the original Marvel Secret Wars? The Beyonder was the one.
I didn't read the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Q is when Q came on Star Trek on Star Trek, I was just like, bro, that's just straight up the Beyonder.
Okay. All right, let me know if the sound is working. Let's get through this. So sound good for you guys?
Yep.
All right, let's
Peter, you're gonna be late.
All right, so first, what do you guys think of the animation?
Was he sleeping on the ceiling?
It looked like he was.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Animation. People have been saying it's trash. Oh,
It's really, really modern. It's very quirky.
it's very modern. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I
think it's like John Wick right here.
Yeah, it's cel shaded 3D animation, and to make it look 2D, to me it feels a little like not natural in terms of the movements.
It's not even cel shaded. It's flats.
It's flats. Yeah, you're right.
It was like mimic a comic book or something. But it's about to get John Wicked, which is getting hit by a car from your left side.
So yeah, I mean, it is for kids, right? But the original Spider-Man animation is friggin' awesome. Okay, just because something's made for kids doesn't mean it can't be great, and you probably think that's true. But we'll see, because we shall continue. So this is what is this supposed to be in the MCU? Is this supposed to be part of the canon? Because I don't know. Yeah.
I'm okay. Hey. Peter.
So something that someone pointed out, right, is that I don't know if this is the case. Well, that looked weird with his mouth. You see that?
He just immediately gets like mogged by 3 minority women.
People say, like, I've yet to confirm that Peter is the only white person in the trailer. We'll find out, okay? But if so, interesting choice.
He's also not that light.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a tan on him.
Yeah, he's not white in like, look, you're white.
Well,
right?
Yeah, I'm very white, I know.
Right. He's closer to me.
Petey's always been a bit clumsy.
You know me, clumsy, Petey.
Also, just the stylistically, it's very
look,
bland.
I am not feeling
Really
the style.
bland.
You're right with that.
I'm glad that Peter has made friends with 3 Marvel editors. This is
3
really
Marvel-
positive.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're supposed to be a nerd, but you know. Also, in terms of, I don't think this can be MCU, canon, because by his costume, it looks like this is before he gets the Tony Stark outfit, or he meets Tony and gets the real Spider-Man outfit, and so this is before then. But his only friend,
none of that is canon in the comics. I don't know if this is supposed to be from the comics or
no, this isn't comics. but he meets like Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn, and wait until you see Harry Osborn in this. There's questions about old Harry. And where were they in the MCU? Like, what's his friend in Homecoming? You know, his fat friend. What's his name?
Oh,
I forget.
what
but
is his name?
I didn't
the
watch
chat.
it.
I'm sure Buddy Rabbit will know.
Help! Mr. Campbell, I remembered I left something in the bathroom.
Everybody black.
So wait, there's a guy there, but everyone is probably.
Deuces. Parker out.
Maybe he goes to school in Harlem.
That was cringe. Yeah. Oh, yep, Buddy Rabbit. It's Ned.
And if he does go to school in Harlem, he should get beat up for saying deuces, Parker out.
Yeah. Where is Ned then? I guess this can't be MCU then. If but you can tell, like, so the costume is just homemade.
It's a hockey shirt.
Yeah. From the studio that brought you X-Men 97. You know, I heard X-Men 97 wasn't actually bad. So we'll see. But this has the red flags of woke activists working on it. And so, and it doesn't look that good.
I had one observation that modern day writers will never again have the balls to write Peter Parker the way he was originally supposed to be. Have you read the original, like, first Spider-Man comic? Like, he was outcast. He was an absolute, like, he had no friends.
Like,
Everyone
actual
hated
bullying.
him. He has like severe actual bullying. Like, he wants to be with this girl, but she just like rejects him and then goes with a Chad right in front of him. So I mean, he was like, this is like nightmare levels of like outcast, nerd, actual bullying, that he only had his aunt and uncle that he could connect with and nobody else. That's why he was pushed to being so selfish when he got powers. Like, nobody in the world came to my defense or came to me and was kind to me. So why should I do it to the rest of the world? So that's why he became like this selfish. And then he learned that that's a bad thing to do, and that with great power comes great responsibility.
Good writing requires balls. Like, you have to, but they're probably afraid, if it depicts actual mean bullying, that could upset some people. They try and sanitize everything these days. Because that, like, whole thing, where was it? Where, like, he's not getting bullied here. It's just like his only friends are girls.
It's just awkwardness. Like, the bullying comes from us, the audience, because we're laughing at him for being so awkward.
So, yeah, this part was cringe.
Superpower size kid, know you want to name a life.
The rap does not fit it. Again, like, that's a very diverse trait.
That's another thing I had an issue with, because, like, why is it always rap? First of all, this would be appropriate if this were Miles Morales, because it's not just because he's black. It's because it's culture. Like, this is culture that connects to the character, and I think that like, Peter Parker should have like something culturally appropriate to him. Like, what would young white teens be listening to in 2010 or so? So I think like it'd be that way he would sound different and look different.
Is it supposed to be 2010?
I don't know. I just assume that it's around, and like maybe he was born in 2010 or something like that. I don't know.
Even in his neighborhood, black chick, black kid, clearly a gay dude.
Maybe he like lives in the inner city, I guess.
Blue hair, feminist.
Yeah.
Like, if they made a McGill O'Hara comic, if they made a McGill O'Hara show, I definitely want to be listening to some like reggaeton or something. Like something that's some modern day like Mexican Hispanic Tejano music. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm not digging the rap in this. It's just
and I will tell you that when even wokies do a show that's supposed to be a Mexican Hispanic show, they don't pull back on the Mexican Hispanic music.
Well, do you guys see Blue Beetle? Like,
I couldn't finish it.
Honestly. They like the woke mob always say stereotypes are racist, and then they make stuff filled with like so many stereotypes. It's unbelievable. What about that Miles Morales Thor comic book? Hot wings coming in hot and stuff like that.
So much cringe, so little time.
They're so desperate to not be racist, they end up being the most racist people on the planet. Gosh.
Look out!
Somebody help me! He's running, grab him!
That's a dude. That's a dude.
Is this
This is a dude.
It's like a,
there's
one of the star charts.
There's a bump, looks
It's
like
a dude.
We need those pronouns there.
there's questions. People have
No,
raised
there's no questions. Listen to his voice when
All
you
right,
play it.
Hang on. That's not proof of anything these days, Mike.
They them voice,
especially from Hollywood.
Gotcha! I thought it was dead meat.
So that look, if I was
That's a
to
dude.
guess, I would
Listen to him. Look at his jaw. Listen to him.
He sounds like a man, but that's us being.
That's probably Norman Osborn.
No, that's Harry Osborn.
Oh, Harry Osborn.
This is Harry Osborn.
I bet you it is Harry Osborn.
It is no. This is Harry Osborn. It's confirmed.
No, come on.
Doesn't exactly look like Harry.
Harry's a.
He's got the woke man bun, like, and everything.
He's trans.
Multiple rings.
Everything about his dress is female, and he's straight up. Hey, bro.
Wait, they made the trans guy a bad guy?
Wolfsbane 199. That's not a woman. It's a man, baby. Austin Powers. Man, Austin Powers. It's like, he sees a trans person and just punches him straight away. Sorry. Made at a different time, let's say. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is Harry Osborn.
I hate this.
Me, check out our next victim in his dumbass costume. Is my suit really that bad? Ouch. His dumbass costume. Is my suit really that
those are criminals streaming what they're doing.
Why is the Asian criminal? Why is the criminal an Asian?
I don't know. Well, it's representation, Mike.
Hey, hold on. Didn't he just save the guy's life? Couldn't he have been at least like, no, it looks good. Like, give him a little bit of like encouragement. I just saved your life, bro.
Yeah.
Agree with me, asshole.
The thing is, though, I was always say it's so retarded that criminals would never stream them in the middle of crime. But the thing is, though, they've done that, though. They do. Like, there are people that retarded in the world. And then you got those retarded nuisance streamers like Johnny Somali and crap. It's like, no, people are that dumb that they would do this. Okay, so I have to accept this part is an accurate depiction of modern.
The first episode is about them fighting Johnny Somali. I'll watch it.
Yeah, right.
DZ3 says might not even be Asian, maybe Latino. No, you don't understand how woke works. Asians are borderline white, and so you can't have a Latino or a black person be the bad guy.
next?
By the way, they do like Asians are often just lumped in the same category,
right? Because they're successful.
Because they're successful. Asians are the highest income earners in Western countries, and so
that's a whole other.
Costume. Is my suit really that bad? Ouch!
Look, his friends are white. That guy could pass as white.
Yeah, he's fighting there's a redhead.
He's fighting a redhead.
He's fighting a redhead. There's a redhead.
Not to put too fine a point on it, I guess.
So the chat, that dude looks tragic. Is that a bug man? It's the newest Avenger, Trash Man. I've been here since day one. You're about to blow up, Stevie.
That redhead looks like what Peter Parker's supposed to look like.
Yeah, right.
How come this like nerdy ginger is like the bully, like with the fight and stuff?
They've taken away the
I hate gingers so much.
I really don't know. I really don't know.
Watch out for that ladder. Just consider it a good deed from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I want my donation back. Have fun explaining this to the cops. Yep.
That's me, by the way. I'm Spider-Man.
That was a callback to Batman. You got beat up by a guy wearing hockey pads. Is he wearing any hockey pads? He's just wearing a hockey shirt.
Man, Spider-Man being awkward. Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, when he has a mask on, his personality doesn't change, but the anonymity like unleashes his, wit that is willing to roast people because, he doesn't get flack for it socially and stuff as Peter Parker. And so it's not selling me. Like where's Spider-Man scathing,
Well, I have to appreciate that even though the rest of this costume is clearly bought at Target, he did manage to also buy the Spider-Man mask.
Yeah, where did he get that?
Spider-Man.
There we go, there we go, there we go.
All right, so far, nothing in this looks interesting. And Spider-Man should be one of their most bankable characters. Well, he is their most bankable character if they just did him right. Spider-Man is such an awesome character.
Again, swinging through the city so fast you could barely notice him.
I truly believe that.
Is that Flash, you reckon? I bet this is Flash. He's wearing a sports jacket.
But Flash is his enemy.
I know, right? Like, why would he be friends with him?
Are they going to kill him? Are they going to? Maybe that's not anyone important. The cops are going to kill him, and they're going to have a George Floyd episode.
But still, look in the background. He's literally like the only white kid in the school.
He
in
is.
this whole city, except for the ginger.
In the whole city. Except for the villains.
I mean,
except for
They
one
have-
bully
they have
that's active.
really gone far with the representation stuff in this, right? I mean, and it doesn't reflect what most American schools do look like. Okay, I guess it's
Hold
like
on, just pause for a second. Look in the background. Where are they? That they've got a bunch of flammable stuff, nuclear stuff.
holy crap! Yeah, what is it?
Like, oh, it must maybe it's chemistry class.
At this
So,
point,
well, he is a
at-
chemist. That's kind of what his main thing was. He is a chemist.
this is going so far with the representation. It comes off like they have an issue with white people. That's what it really feels like at this point. It's going so far.
I get that hint, yeah, from the last couple of years.
I wonder what MJ is going to look like.
Yeah,
Why are the
right.
changes? I think that I like the idea that if we complain about this, like, oh, why does it matter? Or what if it doesn't matter? then
Actually,
why
you
change
know
it?
what?
Exactly.
Let
If it
that-
matters,
let
why
that-
are people?
I'm really worried that this fella on the screen is MJ.
Michael
I
Jackson?
reckon. My prediction, and it's very likely I'm wrong. I reckon that they have kept MJ as a ginger with pale skin, but they had to
It's gonna
change.
be
Like,
similar.
all right, if you want to keep Peter and MJ white, you have to change everyone else.
Like, they're the only white people in the city.
The only ones allowed.
Well, I wonder if that bully was MJ, the one with the pipe, and then they made Peter Parker gay.
What if this is MJ, the Asian
I-
girl?
The Marvel editor, hope not.
I have these powers to help people, to protect them.
Need my city, you need me. Taking off the mask, I know what you see. Do you want a neighbor like
Man, Aunt May is jacked. She has like Arnold Schwarzenegger style shoulders.
you need me?
Man, the rap is just annoying.
It's AI.
Look at those shoulders and that jaw. He's got the crimson
that
chin
MJ?
jaw.
Yeah, that is.
I think that's Aunt May.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
assume
Aunt
it's
May.
Aunt May. They're going with
That
that.
can't be Aunt May.
It's
What
Aunt
What
May.
happened to Aunt
It's
May
Aunt
being
May.
a?
It's like the MCU thing. They're going with like a young, hot Aunt May now.
Yeah.
And they gave her the shoulders of a linebacker and the chin of Crimson Chin.
Although, to be fair, how old was Aunt May in the original series?
I can't remember, but didn't she always have white hair? Like she looked old.
And she's like 80
Yeah,
something.
but
And then
was
then
she
he ruined
80
his marriage
something?
for her.
I'm curious. I'm gonna look it up.
Do you want a neighbor like me? Just a young man cleaning up the streets. Yeah. Ain't nothing changed, no this
So this is Oscorp,
real
and there's Norman Osborn, Captain America.
So, you're Spider-Man.
So he knows Peter Parker Spider-Man at the very beginning, it looks like. Like, okay. Before he's even Green Goblin, interesting. And
Man, with my help, you'll achieve greatness.
so Norman Osborn gives Spider-Man a spider outfit? All right, I'm confused.
A white spider.
Unless I've been thinking that this is based before the MCU. Like, I just don't think it can be in the MCU. But if you're trying to force it in, because that Captain America it looked like MCU Captain America, right? Unless they're trying to say that this is after No Way Home, when everyone forgets who he is and he has to start from square one, and he has to. But he made a comic book accurate Spider-Man outfit at the end of No Way Home, so I don't know what he's wearing then. I'm just confused.
Also, the Aunt May thing, that her age, they were never very good at nailing it down. In the beginning, she looked a lot older, but then in the later stories, she said her age was 72, but that's when Parker was like freaking 30. So that would have aged her down to like her 50s or 60s in this story. So it's very inconsistent.
Yeah, she's like 30. She's in her 30s or so.
No, she's got wrinkles.
Don't like this outfit, white and black.
Man, this suit's incredible. If you ever need another butt kicking, just look for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Wait, what did he say?
If you ever in need of another butt kicking, because that's what Spider-Man's just all about.
Oof.
That must be MJ, because they put her on that key artwork right there. If you go back,
Wait, she's like going to be like an older lady that he falls in love with or something.
No, the Asian chick.
Oh,
right there. I wonder if that is MJ.
These are key characters: Norman, Harry, Peter, Aunt May.
MJ, holy crap.
Dollar story. MJ.
Our name stands for me Japanese.
I would.
They made MJ like a Marvel editor. I guess that it is like, oh, she's totally me.
Unless they've just written her out and she's going to be a new character, or
Gwen.
Gwen,
as Ninja Pat points out. Yeah.
And no, you may not be excused from said test. Ah, nice of you to join us, Mr. Parker. See me after class.
Can characters stop being funny? Like, why would a teacher say that? No, you cannot be excused from the test. I just wait for someone to ask, and then she can respond to it. We don't need, and not every character needs to be sarcastic and
there's a rainbow
and funny. We still need that. You don't need
the
rainbow.
Oh, yes. There's a rainbow there.
There's a rainbow, and is there like a fist?
Dare to be you.
When you learn, don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to not try.
What's the dare one say? I can't read it.
Dare, I think, to be different. Dare to be you.
I guess like it can't be like stay away from drugs and alcohol because they like that. I'd like to embrace the cringe of that poster. Don't be scared to fail. Be scared to not try. What the hell is that poster? Take that down. You're a teacher. What is this? Not you could be afraid to not try. What is this? This is a brutalization of the English language. Don't be afraid to fail. All right. That's it. That's all you need. Don't be afraid to fail.
Let's look at some of the responses to this. Hey, Quarter Black Garrett. He thinks, utter trash. I got to go back and read the comics again to remember why I even care. And Harry Osborne and Norman Osborne. That's not Harry and Norman. A bit different. Hey, John De La Rosa. He says, delete your account. Weaponized. The ad animation is lazy dog crap. This looks like dog crap. Is it on purpose? And like they clearly are copying the Amazing Fantasy cover. Spider-Man. Garbage. My kids watch the 90s Spider-Man and not this crap. Like one of my sons, like it's interesting how they each kind of latch onto different properties, superheroes and stuff. And so my youngest is just Batman obsessed. He loves Batman. And my second youngest is Spider-Man. He's getting into Spider-Man. And so I'm going to introduce him to the 90s cartoon. That's the one to show him. Not this sludge. We have horrible. What 12-year-old drew this? Unwatchable. The cartoon makes me feel actually sick seeing it in motion. Oof. through the comments and guess I'm the only person who likes this animation style. Most people do not. The legends are rolling in their graves. Lazy CG animation. Doesn't look like it. Oh, doesn't look like it's that popular. Maybe that's just my Twitter feed.
629.
It looks bad. All right, we'll grab some of the super chats before we go on to the next topic. And we have Redheads, Ice Cream, D&D, 40k lore. I'm just catching up to where we are. Okay. So we have Le Chevalier de Lys, I think, for $2 says DS9 or Babylon 5, B5 for me. Babylon 5. I tried Babylon 5. I probably didn't give it enough of a fair go. Because I didn't get into it, unfortunately. Maybe
I
I'll
got
give
to
it
have
another
dinner with Gigi Edgley once. We rode in from con and Dragon Con, and then I had dinner with her and her husband. She's a really nice lady, but I'd never watched Babylon 5.
It has a very positive kind of place in sci-fi fandom. A lot of people love Babylon 5, so I should give it another go. And when I've looked at some of the lore, some of it sounds great. And I love the design of their spaceship. Like, it's a very realistic kind of spaceship fighter that they have in the show. So there are some things I do like peripherally of B5. Zodlander for 100 SEK. Hi, Shad. I read your book. Love. Thanks, man. I'm working on my new book. I have goals for finishing my... It's not the sequel to Shadow the Conqueror. It's a new property. And... I have goals, and that's all I'm going to say. But there's stuff happening. I love playing D&D 5th edition. Yeah, 5th edition 3. 5th edition. Okay, 3 and 3.5 is my one. 2024 PHP Barbarian. The addition of weapon mastery being real fun. I have noticed the UI in D&D beyond favor females in their random name generator. Wizard of the Coast, man, is insanely woke. But dude, I'm so glad you enjoyed the book. Thank you very much. Not that John Stewart for $2 says the 90s Spider-Man cartoon holds up. Watch it. Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Bart der Bierstobler for $10. Nice one. What?
The 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I think my friend Cheeks worked on that. Sean Galloway.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I loved that as a kid, man. Night's Watch, a Marvel character that could rap reality was Mad Jim Jaspers.
Look that up.
Michael, look him up. Thank you for the super chat. And again, I just read that one. Liam Dell, $5 says, yes, X-Men 97, where they decided to bring up the Rogue plus Magneto relationship. They did. Is that in the comics? I don't know how popular it is, but Liam seems to dislike it. I haven't watched the whole thing. Surprisingly, though, some people say it's decent. Some people hate it. We can see why. Wolfsbane.
Oh, no, the 2000s one.
Oh, okay. X-Men 97 ruined Rogue's character. Never forgive. There we go. There's somebody doesn't like it. And Wolfsbane.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The studio kicked out the only competent guy. Wasn't he the showrunner that they kicked out? He was the one that I'll need to look up the history of that, but yeah. Zodlander for 50 SEK. I'm boycotting Disney because Star Wars, Willow, and Indiana Jones. Those are reasons enough. And Amazon because Rings of Vile crap. Screw this crap. It's a sad state in modern media. And I completely understand. There are so many stuff I would not watch if I wasn't reviewing it.
I'd bring up too, even in Squid Game, which the first Squid Game was so freaking based, but the second Squid Game, one of the main characters is trans, and that's part of his whole story arc. And it's like that was even in Korea, right?
Well, I reckon that was Netflix saying you have to have this or that character. Almost guarantee it.
Yeah, because they can't stick black characters. It's in Korea. You need some diversity.
Will Spain
And the
for
funny thing
199
is,
says,
they want to go to Thailand and be a what do they call those? The girly boys over there, the
Lady boy?
lady boys. He wants to
Um,
go to Thailand to be a lady boy.
But Wolf Spain, I remember we grabbed your super chat as it came up because that's not a woman, that's a man, baby. Buddy Rabbit for $5 says Johnny Somali, that chick who tore down the Italy flags thinking they were Israeli. This is just biblically accurate millennial Gen Z crime. Oh man, the world, where have we come to? Zodlander for 220 SEK says the white suit is the future Foundation Spider-Man, is he? Still don't like the suit. Do you guys know if that's in the comics? It sounds like it.
I've never seen it, but I haven't been reading Marvel.
Yeah,
comics.
I haven't read any of the new stuff.
Who has?
Duran's Gate for $10 says you'll never catch the reverse of this Harry Osborn situation, just complete hypocrisy. Well, even when it approaches slightly being in the reverse, the woke mob lose their friggin' minds. It happened with potential casting for the Lilo and Stitch movie, that the one of the girls they cast had slightly less tanned skin than the cartoon, and they went insane over it. Racism is racism that. And so you can clearly see it only goes one way for them.
I bet you they did a Marvel movie, and it's like the next Black Panther movie, and he shows up to help out another hero, takes off his mask. It's Steve Rogers. He's the new Black Panther. How crazy would that be? That would make some headlines, I think.
Well, this is the thing, right? My stand is that depict the characters they are in the comics, and so I wouldn't like if but I do get what you're saying, like the hypocrisy that they have. They're perfectly fine with, why are you so bothered about it? Why? It's only, changing character's skin. It doesn't matter unless it, is done in a way that they don't like, and they lose their bloody minds because they are hypocrites. So did you guys end up watching the Superman trailer?
Oh yeah, the new one.
The new one? I have very strong thoughts on it. I've already made a video reaction to it. But I'm interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are of Superman. Did you like it?
Sure about it. I didn't really like the beginning of him being just already beaten up. Like he's already beaten up.
I hated
really good.
that.
Not a really good introduction to the Superman. Like he's already just dead. And then we had the weird, like the guitar version of the theme song. So that's like Jimi Hendrix hippie crap, to me anyway. And then okay, we're going along with the story, and then boom, we're hit with the Ghost of Christmas Past. It's Batman versus Superman all over again. Oh, here's 10 billion different characters. Here's Green Lantern and Hawk Girl and all these different characters. I was like, okay, well, all right, well, we're done.
Well,
how is
oddly
it
enough,
good if it's doing the same mistakes as the other ones?
Yeah, well, that is absolutely true what you're saying there, and it actually felt like it had a darker tone, like deconstructing Superman, like they did with the Snyder stuff. It felt like there was a lot of Snyder repeat, and it's like this is supposed to be a hopeful Superman. Oh, he gets back up and flies triumphantly at the end after you've showed him bloodied and beaten and dragged through the snow by his mangy dog. Sorry, I hate Crypto. I think Crypto is dumb. I get
also, he smile once, he's the hopeful Superman,
right. Yeah, he never smiles. I did not like the trailer. I hope the film is going to be good. I want a good Superman film, right? But there was a lot about the trailer I did not like. Some things I did like. I like the casting of Lex Luthor. That looked awesome. Lois Lane looked fine.
She's like a woman, so that's a positive.
That's a positive. There's one scene of Superman saving someone, and it was awesome.
Okay, I like that part of the trailer. We actually got to see Superman saving someone.
Yes.
That's a good part because I kind of forgot about that part.
It felt like I forgot about it, right? So, look, I've talked about this.
Hero. I forgot about that.
I've talked about this a lot on FNT, on Flashcast. I have my own reaction to it. There is a bit of an update that some screenings have happened with the Superman film, and it doesn't look like large screenings. It looks like just shown to some of the higher up people, and the rumors are that the reception has not been positive. That they thought the movie was really bad, and that now it needs to it's going to reshoots to try and repair it. I find that interesting because I have been skeptical of James Gunn's ability to make Superman. The choices just around the periphery, and especially the choices with that trailer, make me very concerned and doubtful that he can do justice to this character.
I think it's like the Superman temptation where you were an artist and you get handed Superman. So you want to make a Superman movie instead of a superhero movie. And so now Superman has to be Jesus or something. And he has to represent all kinds of crap. Instead of, how about we have Superman save a guy? How about the Superman goes in there, fights a bad guy, and saves the world? How about that movie? Can we just have that movie again? That was a good movie.
Right? And some people, I feel, misunderstand part of the appeal of Superman. And they say Superman is too overpowered and is really hard to write because he's so powerful. And I think, if you there might be an argument in part to that. But I also feel it misses one of the appeals of Superman, which is the power fantasy aspect of it. He is supposed to be indomitable, unbeatable, to the point where when Superman decides to actually try, you get this sense like, oh, it's on. You done goofed. You got Superman on your case now. You're stuffed. And then seeing him just come in as this unstoppable force is awesome. I always got a buzz out of this as a kid, where when Superman rocks up, you're stuffed because he is Superman. And oh, that's boring. Not for kids. And I still look at that and I see great appeal to that aspect of the character. You can challenge him, okay? And there's the whole moral challenges. Can he be in multiple places at once and other things like that? But there's also the aspect that he holds part of his powers back for fear. And you could have a great arc with Superman learning how to control his powers, like in the early days, where he tries to do something. And there are hints that they might be doing this. And if they do this approach in this film, they could actually have something brilliant. Because there are hints throughout the trailer, especially see this shot here. This is from the trailer where he's walking, through the crowd of people yelling at him. And then Guy Gardner comes out and it looks like Guy Gardner is upset and they're going to yell at him. And one of the theories, and look, this could be me writing for the writers and giving them too much credit, and it's not this at all. So maybe I'm being far too desperate in my hope that they could be doing something cool, good with the character. Because one way that could explain these scenes is that the Justice Society, whatever Guy Gardner is a group part of, right, are afraid of Superman because of his power. Is too powerful and they're not sure he can control it. And so they were telling him to stay out of the way. You're going to hurt people. As soon as you try and do something, it goes too far. You can't control yourself. You're too dangerous. People are afraid of him. Superman tries to help anyway. And he does exactly that because he's not yet fully in control of his immense power. And something goes wrong. People are angry with him. Guy Gardner's angry with him. And the arc could be that he and that's a theme you can work with Superman really well. Him learning to control his insane, near limitless power.
Yeah, but then we're going to get another instance of good guys fighting good guys. Like, I think we've had enough of that. Can we have bad guys being fought now? I think we're at the point where we can have bad guys.
Guy Gardner has always kind of been a little iffy. Right.
I'm for Hal Jordan or John Stewart. I like those.
Did you say that you do or you don't like the casting of Corner Sweat here?
I think the casting is okay. I hate the Superman outfit he's wearing. I think it looks like trash.
This is what he reminds me of. Or it's just like they took Tom Welling. They mushed them together and they got this.
It's Am I wrong? Well, look, I if that's the case though, he does have the Superman look. I'm okay with it.
Well, I mean, they had no compunctions about showing him frown, scowl, and cry.
Yeah.
Can we have him smile once? Is that too much to ask?
Well, that's the thing. I would actually like to see the indomitable Superman. How many times do people say how awesome the first Superman film, the motion picture is. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they say it's the greatest. And in that one, he is OP as friggin' hell. He flies so fast, he turns time back, right?
Yeah, that's a bit
And-
of a problem.
But no, like as a kid, I remember thinking like, hell yeah,
so
you can't
He's-
beat Superman. He'll
so
friggin'
angry.
break reality if he needs to, you know?
His heart is so broken, he just turns back time.
And like he was willing to break that thing that, you know, Jor-El told him to not mess with time and stuff like that
Mhm.
because he
Screw you,
cared for
Dad.
Lois so much.
I'll
Right?
do what
there
I
was
want.
power to that. It had a good thematic resonance to the film. And it's part of the fact that he's so insanely powerful that he can do it. And it has that question like, should he do it then? Which is a good narrative kind of question.
I
So
forgot
you can have
there was a creator. I forgot who it was, but he spoke on this whole thing. I forgot who it was, but got a quote from him where he goes like, "Oh, everyone just thinks everyone has an excuse that Superman's too powerful. Oh, he's too boring. Can't write a story about him." Well, the people who wrote Superman in the beginning didn't have a problem. He was already powerful. Yeah, he got more powerful over the years, but they still wrote stories about him. They still wrote interesting stories about him. There's a lot of cool stories about Superman, and the idea is that anime has really taken this formula and they've done success after success after success with an OP. It's like a whole genre now in anime called OP main character, and they do really well in all of these things. And what's really good about these scenarios is that they will show like evil, dark, bad guys doing horrendous, awful things, and they're unstoppable. And they would show you how much evil they can do and are capable of. They show you like how much devastation they cause, and that they show you like all the way to the point of hopelessness. And then here comes this OP character, the one guy that can solve the situation because he's so powerful. He's able to use that power for justice. That's kind of the formula you need for Superman.
I know.
Where
I mean,
here's
One Punch Man is friggin' brilliant. And he literally, like, his shtick is that he can kill anyone with, like, barely any effort at all. And it's great.
It's
Like,
hilarious.
I love One Punch Man. They get it. They understand that absolutely you can have some of the best stories around insanely OP characters. And part of the fun of One Punch Man is, like, all the other heroes start to struggle and they're fighting these bad guys, everything. And when One Punch Man arrives, you get the same sense as like, now they're stuffed. They can't, and it's so funny because the contrast works so well where like you have this really tough bad guy that's been making all the other heroes really struggle. They can't get it. And the bad guy is completely high on how tough he is. I'm so powerful. You can't be. One Punch Man just lays them out. And they're just like in shock. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, but to be fair, try doing that for 75 years.
You could. Like Superman's been
really,
around for
you
ages.
can't, because One Punch Man is its own universe where you can have stupid stuff happen. Superman is part of a total otherwise every city on Earth by 75 years would have been destroyed by the time we got right. You have limitations when you have a legacy.
Superman does have
going on
limitations
decade after decade after decade. One Punch Man, you can do whatever you want because it's just him and his one story.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, Superman's been around for ages, and they've made him work. They've made interesting stories around him.
Yeah, but there have been long chasms of really stupid stories.
Oh, there are. I'm not like, and there's dumb things in them. I'm not like, I hate Crypto. I think Crypto's dumb. What do you think?
I
about
always
Crypto,
wonder,
Mike?
can a Green Lantern create kryptonite? It's green.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good, but like Superman does have limitations. The thing is, though. So yeah, they could kryptonite. I actually think kryptonite can be used too much, but there are so many ways to make interesting stories. We're talking about the films adaptations. The films have barely scratched the surface of what you could do with Superman. And so they could make something brilliant if they wanted to. Here's an interesting chat. The best part of Superman struggle story is how he lives as Clark and the internal conflict between Clark and Superman. Yeah, absolutely. That's so like, I think a lot of the modern Superman stuff, especially the Snyder stuff, they've forgotten about Clark Kent and the interesting stories you can have as Clark Kent. They made a whole freaking TV series around Clark Kent. It was literally called Lois and Clark.
Smallville.
That was Smallville, right?
He never even wears the costume.
There we go. Clark can be an incredibly intriguing character. Okay. And so you need to have that aspect of this, Superman thing correct. And if you do it right, you could do something brilliant. But, you know, people seem to be missing the thing. We got a super chat from Patrick Eltz, $20, says they could also do Superman like One Punch Man. There we go, where his power isn't an important part of his journey. Heaps of ways you could do it. We'll just catch up any of the other Superman. Zodlander for 50 SK. In my opinion, best Superman movie comics was All-Star Superman. Yeah. I think I've seen the animation and I really liked it. Mostly because Superman dies. In my opinion, new S symbol looks like a stop traffic sign.
Well, it comes from Kingdom Come.
It does come from Kingdom Come. It's okay. I don't love it, don't hate it. I love the original S, and I think there has been some
original.
Oh, I'm talking about the classic S, I should say.
The 80s S. There have been so many Superman S's, dude.
There actually has, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you and I were talking about it because the original one was in a medieval style shield.
Yeah.
Old school. That's where it comes from. Liam Dell for $5 says, I should bring up that none of Superman's weaknesses were created in the comics. Kryptonite came from a radio drama and magic came from Mortal Kombat. Interesting.
Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. Okay. So there are ways to challenge him. And then there's the other times when you just get an insanely OP villain like Darkseid as well. And Superman versus Darkseid is a cool matchup.
Yeah.
So the fact that pre-screenings of the movie have come back very negatively just adds to my concern. Like, I really want it to be good. I'm expecting it's going to be terrible. That's kind of what my radar says at the moment. What do you guys think? Good or bad?
More likely bad.
That's the track record.
Well, I mean, with James Gunn, it's really not. But James Gunn, to me, I haven't seen any of his other stuff, but Guardians to me was like magic in a bottle, like because of the chemistry between the actors, and that's why I personally didn't like Suicide Squad, but I was always tentative about this because I've never seen any of his other stuff. I don't think James Gunn's bad, but he probably has a particular wheelhouse. And that was the thing.
I agree.
He was trying to redo the wheelhouse with Suicide Squad, and it didn't work. Not for me, anyways. That was just
I think he can be hit and miss.
Was like magic. I think he got super lucky with the casting.
I don't think I'm concerned that he might not be able to handle Superman in the right way, where it's always been into the, I guess the weird characters, the characters that are on the fringes and stuff. And
that's why he's bringing in freaking Guy Gardner and Hot Girl. He is a total comic book nerd. We can appreciate that about him.
I can appreciate that. And look, I would love to be wrong. I want this movie to be great. I want a great Superman movie. Superman is my childhood hero. All right. It was like Superman, Spider-Man, He-Man were the big ones for me as a kid, but Superman was actually the first one. That was the big nerdy hero of my childhood. The Christopher Reeves movies. And I remember, do you remember the old Superboy TV show before Lois and Clark? Did you ever watch that? That was on TV when I was a kid and I watched that. Do you even know it? Do you not know of Superboy?
It rings a bell, but I can't even envision it.
Yeah, Superboy, look it up, dude. They canceled it to make room for the Lois and Clark one because they didn't want 2 Superman shows on TV.
Oh gosh, that does ring a bell.
I
was working on Superman. I was working on Adventures of Superman when they were doing the Lois and Clark show. So they did a Lois and Clark event on the set of the Daily Planet, and so they invited all the Southern California artists to go up there. Got to meet all the actors and everything. It was cool.
But this is it. This is the old school.
I do remember that.
Superboy show.
That just
and it was
out of existence.
It was actually popular. It was doing pretty well, and it didn't deserve to get cancelled. And so this is it. And like his love interest was Lana Lang because he was Superboy, right? And so I think it might have even been based a bit more around in Smallville. I cannot remember much, only that I enjoyed it as a kid. And it got cancelled because of Lois and Clark. And look, Lois and Clark was great, but this is an old school classic. Look at that. He wears it well. He's, old school Superboy. There is another thing going on in regards to DC and their superheroes and stuff. It's that the Batman 2 has been delayed. You guys heard about that? Like the news that Batman's getting delayed? Or am I the only one here? So this has been an interesting bit of news. And the Batman 2 has been delayed. I'll hang out with the chat a bit. It was a Clark Kent Superboy. Yeah. So I'm annoyed about this because the Penguin was brilliant. And it showed that great potential for expanding the Batman universe. Have you heard about this, Lit Dev?
Which one is it? The Batman 2, the new
Yeah.
Batman movie was late? I saw that, yeah.
Mm.
The Penguin was awesome, though. I did really enjoy the Penguin.
Penguin was great. And I enjoyed the Batman. There were some issues with it, but overall, I quite enjoyed it.
He had a character arc in there where he went from like vengeful school shooter kind of Bruce Wayne to like, you know what? It's not about vengeance. It's about justice. And that one scene, the scene that stuck in my mind was when he drops down. He's like aching. He's been shot or whatever. He drops down to the water, lights a flare, and leads the people out to safety. It's like that stuck with me as a scene. That was pretty good.
I actually really like the part where he realizes his inspiring hope. There were many aspects to it I liked. And the fact that the Penguin was so good gave me quite a bit of expectation and enthusiasm for Batman 2. Now it's delayed a whole friggin' year. And I'm not sure about the no script yet thing, because it's like, one, I don't trust James Gunn. He lies through his teeth. But even if there wasn't, it was looking like it was going to be great from how good the Penguin was. Now, by delaying it a year, they've basically just nuked the enthusiasm that people got from the Penguin. It's going to be dead on arrival unless they do something to refresh it. And it reeks of politics. Feels like that they might have wanted to delay Batman 2 because James Gunn has his Batman project that he wants out, and there could be concerns about competition. And what annoys me is like, what they should do, if they were smart, but Warner Brothers isn't smart, turn the Batman into a TV series like the Penguin and continue it on as a TV series with high production value like the Penguin, and that would be awesome. I'd be 100% on board.
I think the Batman would be more expensive than a Penguin show.
Yeah, it would.
Show.
They would need to invest in it, but are they willing to? Probably not.
Well, it doesn't bring in as much money as movies. Streaming does not make as much as movies.
Yeah, you're right. And they probably couldn't get Robert Pattinson on board because he's probably signed up to do films with it. So this might ruin that universe a bit. Penguin 2 set up the reintroduction of Batman on the forefront of the story of what's happening in Gotham. And now it's like, what, is there going to be a Penguin season 2 before a Batman 2 now? How are they going to pull that off? That's going to be like,
On the bright side, at least they're waiting for a good script. I hate it when Hollywood has a schedule to meet and they
force it. Yeah.
Force a crap script because they needed to get a movie out by a certain time. I hate that because dude, that's the foundation of your entire movie. Is how good is your script?
Oh yeah. And it's funny, like I think Hollywood is starting to learn. Maybe I'm just perceiving it wrong, because they did fluke it a number of times where they were producing big films before the script was even completed. They did that with the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, like the last one. That was in full filming and everything, and the script hadn't even been finished.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's insane.
It was-
But
You're flying
It's
by the
like
seat of the
the-
pants on that one.
It's like the easiest part of making a movie. I mean, easy in the sense that there's one guy working on the
well, not
thing.
anymore.
It's not like
now the contract
3,000 people that you have
Yeah.
to coordinate to do single thing. It's like, just get the one guy part done right first.
the contracts that come out from their protests and whatever the big strikes mandate a writer's room. They have multiple writers in depending on how big the project is. It's like they are enforcing through contracts.
That's not bad as long as you've got one guy that can make the decisions.
Oh, you really think that's how they run though?
No, but I'm just saying if that is how you run.
If it
because
was,
you have to have a guy with a vision.
Yeah, you
it's
do.
Like, sometimes that guy doesn't have all the ideas, and if you're like bouncing 20 ideas,
it's good to bounce things off. I agree,
yeah.
but like for me, I would need to have full control and primary oversight as a writer. Like, I think I could contribute to someone else if they were bad, but still, if it's just going to be like, everyone fighting for, oh, we need to add this and we need to add that in, especially with how narcissistic people at Hollywood seem to be, where they have to make sure their part is in.
Yeah.
It feels like it would be a recipe.
It's about
for
them. It's
disaster.
not about the story.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even as an artist, for me, even the art in a comic book is there to serve the story. The story always has to come first.
Yep. Not that John Stewart for $2 says Ben Affleck never got a Batman film, in my opinion. Not really, did he? He was just like in the Justice League, and then he appeared in the Flash, and that was kind of it.
Fine. Ben Affleck has the charisma of a bucket of sand.
You didn't like his Batman? I thought it was all right.
I liked his Bruce Wayne.
Okay, yeah.
You're pretty all right, Bruce Wayne. It looked kind of funny in the Batman suit, though. It looked kind of like retired, kind of like
He looked
chubby
like Frank
face.
Miller's freaking Dark Knight Batman. It's just
like a dollar store version of it.
Look, we'll have to wait and see. I think that's probably pretty. Look, I was excited. It's like, bring in the Batman 2 after Penguin. Now it's another year. It's like, gosh, I think that's kind of crappy. And I don't know if it was needed.
Meat at your crowd here. I think the same thing about Henry Cavill. I know he's a great guy. I know all that stuff. That dude has about as much charisma as my cat. So it's like between Cavill and freaking Affleck, dude. That's why during that movie it was Gal Gadot and it was
Gal
Jason
Gadot.
Momoa. Hold on,
she's the one who can't act.
Right, but her and freaking Jason Momoa, neither of them the greatest actors in the world. They had 5,000 times the charisma of anybody else on screen. And that's why people went. Why do you think Aquaman did so well? Why do you think Wonder Woman did so well? Right? But the other people just had no charisma. That's why casting is so important.
Man, it still did well.
You got to not just have characters or actors with charisma. You have to have the chemistry between them when you're doing an ensemble cast like that. That's the
Chemistry
only
is
Guardians.
another matter.
Yeah,
I think Cavill was great as Superman. His Clark Kent was pretty poor, but in terms of charisma, I think he can really pull off some great roles. But he's been given
those. He didn't in those. That's all I'm gonna say.
See, I reckon his Witcher was good. He portrayed a great Witcher, but his material,
the first episode of that,
the material sucked. He was given terrible material. And so I think a lot of the scripts have let Cavill down, but I like Cavill.
Speaking of like really poor Henry Cavill, he's like a geek of like three main things: Superman, The Witcher, and Warhammer 40K. Superman, it's Zack Snyder Superman. Just to ruin the character. Okay. Then he went to okay, I'm done with Superman. Let me go with The Witcher. It's woke Witcher, ruin the character. Okay. That's done. Let me go to Warhammer 40K. Oh, here we go. Make it
actually that's a good point.
That's going ahead though.
Tangentially making a point. What if it was Henry Cavill, but he was being directed by somebody like a James Gunn instead of a Zack Snyder? It might have been a totally different Superman.
It might have been.
Possibly.
Also, I want to point out that when Henry Cavill started doing the Warhammer 40K, that's when they started putting in female Space Marines, and not only they put in female Space Marines, they made female Custodies, which is the faction Henry Cavill plays. Like, someone is like really hates Henry Cavill for some reason.
It seems
am I
like
wrong? Are Custodies all not freaking clones of the Emperor?
I don't know.
They're the ones that guard him. I'm not really sure about their specific.
The thing is,
rules.
like, Amazon Warhammer 40k thing is going ahead with Cavill in control, from what I heard recently, and so it looks like there was rocky waters about adaptation and how it's going to be done. It seems like Cavill might have won the battle and is now moving ahead, producing and doing it. We'll have to wait and see, because I would love a good Warhammer 40k thing.
Nathan Cassidy says, "Yep, but that change got decanonized."
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, they rolled it back. They rolled back the female Custodies. This is why there is a response art to that fat black lady in the wheelchair art I saw earlier, which is the Sisters of Mercy, or whatever they call the battle people, the battle girls,
Sisters of Battle.
Sisters of Battle. Kicking that wheelchair lady off a cliff. So it's like no more female Space Marines.
Wolfsbane for 199 says just FYI, Henry Cavill's agent is the Rock's agent. Yeah, and I've heard that there's weird things going on with like Cavill's ex and other things. Working in Hollywood just seems like
the land.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so driven to do something like the parallel economy thing. I think we need to build outside of that system, and God willing, there'll be some.
Hollywood is being corrupt almost from inception. Like there were jokes about the casting couch with Marilyn Monroe. It's in one of her films.
Oh my gosh! Freaking! Did you ever see that video of Shirley Temple? Was she talking about when she went in with her mom to I think it was MGM, and she goes in the office of this guy, and the guy drops his freaking pants in front of Shirley Temple. She's like 8 years old, and she starts giggling at him, and he like gets mad and throws her out. And then her mom comes out, and her mom had just dealt with something similar in the other office.
That's Hollywood.
We never went back to MGM.
It's like an open secret over there with Hollywood. That's kind of. Have you heard like the Nickelodeon stories? It's crazy over there. Crazy.
Hollywood has been like this. Like I said, from inception, the stories about how degenerate these just hedonistic, narcissistic, crazy people are. It's insane, and there's constant stories. The guy that played James Bond, he was the Aussie James Bond only in that one film, The Majesty's Secret Service. He shares there's a documentary talking about his life, and the crap that they purposely sent a hooker to him to have sex with to confirm if he wasn't gay, but that was them providing sex services and all this crap. Yeah. Like Hollywood has been degenerate filth for years, all behind the scenes going on. They're like the crazy crap you heard about the Brady Bunch and other things like it's been going on for ages.
Yeah.
So it all deserves to burn.
Parallel. We got to get outside of that system. There's plenty of talent who are not SJW freaking weirdos or pedophiles.
I sometimes wonder if Hollywood is the whore of Babylon at this point. Like, because man. But look, let's wrap it up. It has been a great stream. Good to be back. Final stream of the year 2025. I bet it's going to be interesting. Just like 2024, we will get to live through it quite shortly. So everyone, happy new year. I hope the new year is great. Genuinely, I hope it goes well for everyone.
It's starting out pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a good head start there.
It's a good start. Let's hope it continues. We'll have to keep up the fight because the woke stuff is still around. They're still just infested. Hollywood has not changed. They're only just trying to change their tune a little bit to appease people. But Mike, anything you want to share as we start to wrap up?
I've just been plugging away doing some videos on my channel, redesigning some. I've been redesigning a lot of the Marvel Rivals characters, but I also did the Intergalactic character. Those videos took off. People really like to see that sort of 80s vibe character, but designed in a way that isn't freaking manly and uninteresting.
Yeah.
And also, you know me, I'm always designing intellectual properties. I design, you saw on Twitter, Jesus
Yep.
Freak. Which sounds really goofy, but that's the point. It's supposed to sound goofy. It's
Yes.
like,
Yep.
yeah.
Awesome. Lit Dev, what are you up to, man?
I just got. I know it's been a while since I made a video. I'm trying to, but unfortunately, I have major crippling OCD that won't let me do anything unless I get the script done, which I did do. I finally got that done going into work on these videos. But I also want to point out that I do a show called Morning Nonsense every weekday morning at around 8:35 a.m. Eastern. If you want to join me there, we usually have a lot of fun going over some nonsense, going over some cool stuff. Sometimes I go into the golden age of television where we go over like, you know, old shows where they used to be good and why they're good. Old intros, why they're so cool, like the Men in Black intro. I went over that one a couple of weeks ago, which is not the movie but the cartoon, which is pretty cool. So go over all kinds of stuff.
And genuinely, everyone,
That's 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is why I never get to catch your show.
Lit Dev is an early riser.
But if you are a member of the stream, you can catch the replay.
Yes. These guys are genuinely worth checking out, everyone. I hope you go watch their stuff, support them, and thank you for joining us here on the live stream. So we will see you next week. Next year, yeah. We'll see you next year.
See you next year, guys.
As we continue staying on watch. See yous.